UConn over Oklahoma. The Huskies have now won 13 consecutive NCAA tournament games. This is the second longest streak ever, tied for the second longest streak ever. Dan Hurley's squad knows how to win in March. And I think that experience showed in this game. Oklahoma did very well to push UConn late, tied the game, took a lead late in this game, and then UConn went to a different gear.
Mhm.
We'll save the looking ahead stuff for later on in this episode because we are going to talk about one a full preview in another episode and what to take away from UConn. But in this performance, what stood out for you for the Huskies?
Um, Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley. He
Yeah,
is still Dan Hurley, and he's still the best effing coach in the sport, and he's not wrong. And he went up against, in my opinion, one of the best players in the sport. And he had to answer for him every step of the way. And I think that was the most impressive is once Jeremiah Fears got going, Hurley tweaked it a little. Okay, figure
mhm.
me out again, Jeremiah. And it's like Jeremiah was constantly Card and I mentioned like Sudoku on one of the pods, so Sudoku's been in my brain for the last few days. But it felt like Jeremiah was constantly trying to figure out a Sudoku puzzle, and
Yeah,
every time he got close, Dan Hurley was like, "Nope, here's a new piece of paper. Figure it out now."
yeah. They threw different things at him. Hassan Diar was his primary defender pretty much the entire game, but when they were making their run, it was a lot of pick and roll dish to the big guy cutting, and that got cut off at the end of the game. That was no longer available. I want to give a lot of credit to Solo Ball because his play in the second half of this game I thought helped UConn handle Oklahoma's push. He's somebody too, and I think if we talk about like breakout players next year and breakout stars for next year, he's at the top of my list.
Solo,
Solo Ball, yeah.
special, special.
He's
He's going to be the perfect piece next to what I've been calling the best recruiting class in the country.
okay, and I'm sure there's gonna be some transfers in there as well.
Oh yeah.
But he was phenomenal tonight. He's been phenomenal most of the year. He's really developed into a really good piece for UConn. And then Alex Caravan never misses a big shot. I've yet to see him miss a shot that matters in his career. He hit a big three that put UConn up four late. And Oklahoma, like the difference to me, the last 2 minutes of the game, maybe 3 minutes of the game, Oklahoma and Jeremiah Fears in particular, and you know how much I love Jeremiah. I'm on that train with you. Were the Sooners were far too casual with the ball and the plays.
Mhm.
They did not value the possessions the way that UConn did. They did not value the fact that they got a couple layups that they missed. Fears got to the rim and instead of just laying it in, tried to finger roll it and blew it. And the end result was UConn went down and got a bucket, and that was kind of that. We saw the difference between a team that has been battle tested in March, has experience all over the place, and knew the value of every possession, but particularly those possessions, against a team that was out there trying to be cute.
Yeah. I I think Oklahoma thought they were the better team. And I think
Yes.
that was the problem. You had the better player. Jeremiah Jeremiah Fears is the best player on the court. Respectfully to Liam McNeely and
Easily.
Alex Karaban. They're both phenomenal, respectfully to Solo.
You texted me how Fears looked in person
Yeah.
since I'm here at the Lenovo Center, and my response was in control. He just moves differently than everybody else, which he does. You can tell when you have a player who's like at a certain caliber level playing a level down, and he just you can tell by the way they move, the way they do things that they're different than everybody else. Like Fears looked different than everybody else. The problem is he looked different than everybody else on Oklahoma and didn't get any help on the offensive end.
Yeah. I mean, their game plan was very much so looked like a team that genuinely thought they were the better roster, and they're not. They had the better play. And
Yeah.
Dan Hurley coached like, hey, maybe we don't have the best team, but we have me, and
Yeah.
I'll figure it out myself. And I think he did. And his team figured it out. So the ball's phenomenal. McNeely was rough. McNeely is a very interesting. player to me. I have to be honest. I don't know if I see it the way other people see it, but that's neither here nor there. We'll probably discuss that a little bit more on the preview. But
He has
Caravan was
not been the same since his injury. Since he came back from that. Before he got hurt, he was like legitimate all-American kind of candidate, legitimate lottery pick. He was everything for UConn.
I think he's a legit lotto pick. I don't know if I view lotto picks as like it's a phenomenal accomplishment. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but a lotto pick doesn't necessarily to me like signal like you're gonna have a great NBA career.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
fair.
he was being classified as like in the the realm that I call like top five picks, where it's like you're guaranteed this like extended NBA career. You're going to be a multi-time
Yeah.
All-Star. I think he will have a place in the NBA for a long time. He will hit the health insurance mark, the 10-year mark, but I think his place in the NBA is a little bit more in a specialty role than it is in like a star player role, like we may have once thought coming into the season. That's not a
Mhm.
knock on him. That's still a one percentile basketball player to live on the planet.
Yeah.
But it's just a little different than what Jeremiah Fears brings to the table.
It really is. It really is. Um, yeah, Fears is good, man. Fears is good. Let's look ahead now with UConn because this is a team that has shown flaws this season, particularly defensively. They walled up defensively when they needed to in this game. Did you see anything that made you more confident or more concerned in the Huskies moving forward in this tournament?
I feel confident in the Huskies moving forward. I have to be honest. I thought they looked really good. I thought you're gonna play Florida next. Florida is a much better team than Oklahoma. You're not going to face anybody like Jeremiah Fears, though. And I mean that respectfully to every guard Florida has because they have a phenomenal trio of guards. But
Mm.
you just went up against a guy who might be one of the three best players in this tournament. If you're Hassan Diarra, you have no fear of Walter Clayton, Will Richard, or Elijah Martin after what you
I
just faced today.
I think you should have fear of Walter Clayton.
I think you should too, don't get me wrong. But like that's the type of delusion that it takes to pull that type of upset off where it's just like, I just faced Jeremiah Fears. Come on.
Maybe it's because both of these games were in Raleigh, and I watched both of them in person, and they were the two good games that I saw here today.
Mhm.
Um, but this felt a lot like the Baylor Mississippi State game, with Baylor and UConn being the equivalent, and Mississippi State and Oklahoma being the equivalents, because you had more experienced, better talented teams in these games, Baylor and UConn, who had leads. You had, let's say, lesser rosters with a super talented player, Josh Hubbard from Mississippi State, Jeremiah Fears for Oklahoma, have really good games, bring their teams to the brink, and then those teams kind of fell apart around the main guy. Oak like the exact same game script happened in this game for Oklahoma, as the same thing happened with Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think yes, but I still think there's an element of delusion that will help UConn out within that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Yeah,
And they're allowed to be delusional not to play in Jeremiah Fears. I was delusional thinking Jeremiah Fears had a shot.
I mean he had a shot.
He did.
They had the lead late in this game.
They had a puncher's chance, though. They had a puncher's chance. I do believe UConn steadily looked like the better team throughout. They just got Jeremiah Fears for about a 10-minute stretch.
Oklahoma would have stolen one. It would have felt like. Um, UConn felt like they were in control of this game. Terrace Reed was okay, I thought, but to me, it was a solo ball Alex Caravan show.
I mean, McNeely was rough, to say the least. McNeely was rough.
Yeah, McNeely was rough, but they get to advance. They get to survive and advance, live another day, play another day. That's the Gators. The last two teams to win back-to-back national championships. The last two programs to win back-to-back national championships facing off. Should be a fun one on Sunday.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.